All right, folks. Thanks for hanging out a couple of extra minutes while I pulled my poop in a group. I pretty much just slid into the driveway from being out of town, scampered to look after the livestock real quick, cool off, and put my notes together and plop down here at the desk. So, not bad. Not bad for getting home about 30 minutes ago. Uh, Welcome to a Friday Night Live. Uh, One step closer is hanging out. Howdy, Jeremy. Thank you for coming by. And I got a good bit to go over from the week and things that are coming up. And I am 90% sure I have put just about everything that I would like you guys to be able to look at later in the show notes. So uh, I would like to start with a recap of the gathering that we had on Sunday. So we do quarterly gatherings here. I always send out invites across multiple forums, Facebook groups, my mailing list, Telegram, and so on. And this was a really good one. I mean, they're all good and they're all a little different. This one was a little bit of like a reunion of friends. So some folks who have been out here before, a couple of new people, uh, and and somebody who I've been trying to get out here for over 4 years. So that was nice. So Mike stopped in, Bill and Mary stopped in. Um, got a new lady I met earlier in the season. Her name is Jamie, and they are doing the urban permaculture thing, and I've been kind of helping them with supplying some basic knowledge and how to. And Nicole Sauce from Living Free in Tennessee made it out, so that was cool. I kind of got to show her around, which is it's always nice when you have somebody who's kind of a mentor and most definitely a friend, be able to show them our place up here. So class was great. Actually, the weather ended up being decent. It was raining the night before, raining the morning of, but by noon it was moving out, and it was well, hello, Yellow Jacket. It was a little bit overcast, but then as the afternoon went on, it was beautiful. So everybody had a chance to enjoy sitting outside, have some refreshments, did the tour, walked around, just had a great time. So it was one of those where I was not absolutely pooped after having people over. Sometimes it depends on who shows up, and you've got people who are maybe they have a more intense energy than I have, or they just have a whole lot of questions. And this was just a little more like hanging out with friends. So I was cool with that. But that's not to say that nobody new cannot show up. Of course they can. That's why I extend the invite across multiple forums, because I just never know whose life I may be able to make a positive impact in. So I like to make that happen. Cormac is stopping by. Good to see you. And Off Grid Ping. Thank you so much, guys, for hanging out with us. So Sunday was great. Um, let's see. The week has been a little bit of a whirlwind, which is kind of funny to say because I did not actually have as much on the off-site job front, but everything on-site has been kind of bang, bang, bang. But I did the big focus of the week was testing these sheep in the hops yard. So for those who haven't heard before, my brother has a large hops operation. I'm kind of bad at spatial dimensions off cuff, but I'm gonna say it's about a half acre, and it is he runs multiple 25-foot poles and runs hops vines, cascade hops, and this is something that he does to grow. He grows them exclusively for some local breweries. And over in Cormac's side of the world, the tradition to manage the hop foliage and the grasses around them is to use sheep to graze. But we wanted to make sure we were going to do this right and not damage the hops vines, not uproot them. That would be very bad. And not to we don't want too much jostling of the vines either. We also have to take into account Primrose, the donkey, who likes to rub on everything. Now, uh, when I told my brother that I was going to start bringing bringing the sheep back up closer to the hops, he said, "Okay, let's go ahead and fence them in with kind of like there's a little strip of plants that he doesn't actually harvest." He said, "Let's put them in there, and then we'll kind of bring the fencing around, and we'll include one plant of the cascade to see how they do." Because from the study that we've done and articles and things we've read, videos and all that good stuff, if the hops have climbed at least 7 feet, which at this point almost all of them have, then you should be okay to put the sheep in there, because they will actually prune off the leaves that they reach, and stripping off those leaves will improve its ability to flower and set the cones, which is what. So we put them in there, and about midway through the day, I got in there and I checked, and they had been doing what we needed them to do. They had just pruned off some leaves, and we have a lot of Johnson grass that comes up here. Johnson grass is the weediest grass that it becomes impossible to keep it hand weeded out, and you can't weed eat too close to the vines, obviously. So usually by the time we're getting into harvest, it's just the hops. They're doing okay, but there's Johnson grass everywhere that's stealing nitrogen from the plant. So it's really better if this is something we can keep controlled. So they did a real good job of eating and cleaning up around the plant. So I think this was maybe like Tuesday evening. Tyler said, "Hey, let's add some fence, and let's just fence them into a small section of maybe about 15 plants." I think is about how we had it set, and where we could let them in, but then we could also get them right back out again. And so we did that, and it was kind of evening time, and the following morning he looked at it and he said, "Hey, it's good. Let's get them back out." And so that's what we did. So it seems to be working. We definitely need to be able to get them in and back out. So I kind of need to have the fencing set so that they can't impact for too long, because if they get bored or if they get too rowdy, I'm concerned that they could jostle the vines and the coconut core cordage that they are secured to, that they are climbing. And then, we've uprooted a plant, and I mean, it'll regrow, but they'll be way behind. So we don't want to do that. So we're pretty happy with their impact so far. But my brother's out of town this weekend, so I'm going to wait until he's back. So probably sometime next week, we'll see about grazing the rest of it. Plus some of the grass, the other grass of like basically the lanes between the hops has been mowed. And I would like that to grow some more before they're back in, so they're not eating super short grass. So in the meantime, tomorrow morning, I want to prepare to put them in another paddock that's kind of adjacent, where it won't be too far to move them back into the hops. I've kind of got like a couple of zones that are adjacent that they can go into. So that's really encouraging. And there is some guidelines about excluding animals at a certain point. So within so many days of harvest, you need to exclude any livestock, and we're going to be well within that. So it's really just going to be like a one-time thing. They're going to be in there mostly to prune off to strip off the lower foliage, and then we're back out again. So even though everything that's harvested is up in the air, that's just kind of thing that we want to be wise about. So that was cool. That was kind of one of the early things I brought up with my family to warm them up to the idea of having sheep. I mean, pasture management in general, but if their efforts could help with a better hops harvest, then that would be really cool too. So that's looking good. I think I'll go ahead and hit these announcements here because I've got a lot of stuff coming up. We've got two Oh, my brain fart. Foraging classes coming up. This is what happens when you ride for 2 hours in a Jeep with no air conditioning in the summertime. Your brain is literally fried by the time I get home. So two foraging classes that are not here on the farm, on other sites. So on June 22nd at the Haven Earth Trade School down in Old Fort, Tennessee, I'm going to be doing a foraging class as part of their open house. So just go to their website. I'm pretty sure I linked it. You may need to communicate via email because I think they kind of pre-vet people before they come out because they're not technically open to the public. They are a private membership association, so they have a little bit of a slightly different way of having people come out there. So there's that. And then just got confirmed a couple of days ago, I'm going to be doing a foraging class in Rogersville. The lady for that has made a flyer, and I have linked the flyer with the QR code in the notes. And that's going to be on the 27th. That's going to be about a 3-hour class. We'll be foraging. Folks will have the option to fill a jar of things. So whatever we find, if you want to come fill a jar, we're going to do that. And the big thing coming up is the East Tennessee Homestead Alliance Festival. It's the first annual East Tennessee Homestead Alliance. That's going to take place on July 12th and 13th. That's a Friday and a Saturday at the Townsend Visitor Center in Townsend, Tennessee. That's up in, I can never remember if Townsend's in Blount County or Sevier County, but it's in the mountains. We'll leave it at that. I've got that linked up. I'm going to be speaking on 2 different panels. I'm going to be doing a permaculture homestead panel, and I'm also going to be doing a foraging panel. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm going to have a booth there as well, accompanying the Knox Farms to Families booth. We combined one because I don't need a booth all to myself. So I'll have some of my stuff there. They will be there to tell people how to join the meat co-op if that's something that they want to do. I'm going to be there to talk about doing your livestock, doing the permaculture thing on your land at any scale. We've got, let's see. Well, yeah, I guess we're almost a month out from that. So I'm looking forward to being on those panels. Actually, I really like being on panels. I don't mind speaking. I mean, I can get up there and I can talk about all kinds of stuff, but I like that the panels are a conversation between the audience and those up on the stage. I don't like talking at people. And so I always try to find a way to make my talks be more of a conversation and a give and take and not just me imploring my opinion on something. So we've got quite the busy summer coming up. I have this sneaking suspicion that there's something else I'm supposed to be doing that I'm supposed to be talking about right now, but it'll pop up when it pops up. I'm not even certain I'm going to be able to get a foraging class on the land in June. I'm trying. I'm still looking at it, and that's one of the things I'm going to sort out this weekend. But I am going to try to make that happen. We've got another friend joining the show. I don't want to show my ignorance, but I cannot remember how to pronounce that word that doesn't even have a direct English translation, but I seem to recall it means something about a sense of place. If that's accurate, please let me know. Is that you, Pia? Am I thinking of the right person? I hope so. I am blessed with the number of people who I converse with these days, and every now and again, unless I've met you face to face, I'll brain fart big time. So, yes, events galore, cool stuff to do. I'm really gonna stay put in August. I was tempted to go to something that's going to be in Western North Carolina. That sounds really cool, but I'm gonna keep my butt in here in August and probably for most of July, except for maybe a trip out to Tim's Land, because there's work to be done out there too. Additionally, I have been getting more of my propagation underway. So I put up a video yesterday. It's pretty decent, if I say so myself. I tried to be thorough but concise. And so I put up a video on the YouTube yesterday, on the YouTubes, about propagating greenwood slash softwood slash new growth. All those terms can be used kind of interchangeably. Cuttings for uh, shrubs and woody herb perennials. So in this case, I did some mulberry, which is technically a shrub, even though it turned into a tree around here, blueberry, and some rose of Sharon slash hardy hibiscus. So I've got those potted up, and I'm happy with how it turned out. I only had to redo it once because I kind of forgot a critical component. And yeah, it really is that simple. It really is that simple, guys. And that's kind of what I wanted to get across in the video. Jeremy, thank you for showing that appreciation there. You know, guys, I come from the school of EMS, and in EMS we have, and this is probably like a military thing too, and it kind of got ported over to EMS. We call it see one, do one, teach one, which maybe in healthcare isn't always the best thing, but when it comes to stuff like first aid or very simple tasks, especially low risk tasks, see one, do one, teach one, super effective, and you can impart a lot of knowledge through a lot of people in a very short amount of time. So that's kind of how I tend to approach things. I don't see any need to unnecessarily complicate stuff. Now, if you decide that you're into propagation and it's cool and you want to get into exclusively natives or exclusively food producing or pollinator or whatever the case may be, then there is no shortage of materials that can dial you in. But, you know, a whole lot of us are juggling a million things at once. So it's like, I don't need to hear all your backstory. I want to make more of this plant. So that's kind of what I went for. So I hope you guys find that useful. So something else that I don't think I've talked about it on a live video before, but I still use some commercial feed for the chickens and the rabbits. They get about 50%, 30 to 50% in the spring, summer, and fall of their food in, standard feed store rations. But something that you can do to stretch that and get more and actually make it more digestible for them is to do a very quick fermentation. It's more of like a soak than a true fermentation, although it is beginning the process of fermenting by the time it gets fed to them, because basically you can smell it, you can see the bubbling, you can see the yeast taking action. But I will take about, kind of figure out what your dry food amount is per animal, and then I reduce that down to about 70% of that. Put that in a bucket and just cover it with water. I just use water for my rain tanks. No big deal. Cover it with water, throw your lid on it, and let it sit for 24 hours. So I make their feed as soon as I empty. So this is one serving. We're not talking about saving up for several days worth. This is an everyday thing. If you have access to an extra fridge, you could do it for a longer time. And I did back when I had an extra fridge. Now I don't. That was a thing when we were on grid, not off. So this kind of like soaking slash fermenting their feed stretches your feed supply, and it is more digestible for them. And I think they like it better. I know this. Chickens getting dry feed are like, okay, dry feed. Chickens getting fermented feed is a little more intense. Same for the rabbits. I changed the rabbits over to that once I got them. And then you just kind of, you use like an old portion cup to kind of figure out, how much is needed per animal based on their growth rate, their body size, what they are, all that kind of good stuff. And just observe, see how they, if they lose weight, if they gain weight, if they maintain, just see how they do. But I'm a big fan of fermenting. So I do that rabbits and chickens every day. I dole out their food in the morning. I go back into the shop, add everything back in again, cover it with a little bit of water, cap it, set it aside. Now, if you let it go for more than about 2 days in, ambient temperature around here, it's going to go anaerobic and it's going to be gross and probably not very good for them to eat. So if you happen to just forget or whatever, just throw that stuff into the compost and start over. And in the colder weather, I can get a little more, like I'll actually make a little bit more and I'll have enough for like 2 to 3 days. And if we're really cold, because my shop is uninsulated and unheated, if we're really cold, I just bring those buckets inside and they just set in the bathroom, and I dole out from there. So just something to kind of consider. You can mix in. So for the chickens, I do their scratch feed and their high protein feed, or not high protein, but whatever I can't remember, 12%, 20%, something like that. I think it's 12% protein. And then I do the same thing for the pelletized alfalfa for the rabbits. And otherwise, everybody is getting garden weeds, comfrey, the anywhere like where grass has popped up in the food forest, where it's popped up through the cardboard or whatever, that gets ripped out, that goes to them. Blackberry leaf. I'm just actually kind of feeding everybody everything and seeing what they avoid. And the answer is not much. There's not much that they're not eating. I don't take them anything that's like spiny, so I strip the leaves off and just give them the leaves off the blackberries. I've tried different tree leaves. I am avoiding elderberry and anything that comes from a stone fruit. But like, for instance, when I was doing those blackberry cuttings and the Rose of Sharon and the mulberry, I stripped all those leaves off that you remove and took those up to the rabbits, and they were partying like it was 1999. So they really like that stuff. Feeding these animals has been real easy. I have a big, like a 15-gallon kind of handled pail, it's kind of like I think it came from a nursery somewhere. So like a big planting bucket type thing. And that's what I carry around. I'm pulling weeds out of the garden, stripping stuff off. All of that goes in there, cutting off the comfrey, and make a stop at each tractor and everybody's shelter, stuff several handfuls in there. I just kind of see how much they eat. So if they don't eat it all, or if they leave it for a long time, I just kind of reduce as needed. But it all gets rolled back into the compost anyway, so it's really not a big deal. It's all, it all becomes poop and it all becomes soil. So easy enough way to close the loop on that. So yeah, I did run up to Rural King yesterday to restock the feed, and I took Mama with me because Mama wanted to get out for a little while. So I had to get some salt and mineral for the sheep as well. So it was one of those times where I had enough bag feed in the back of my 2-wheel drive Toyota that it had good traction for once coming up this gravel drive. And as we've known to do, Mom and I stopped at the seed stand, and I want to say about $60 of our purchase were seeds. Can't help it. It happens. It just happens. So I got more seeds to start. We still have time down here in the Southeast to start your seeds for any of your pumpkin, squash, things like that. So if you guys feel like you're behind, do it anyway. A lot of this stuff, it's anywhere from 60 to 90 days to produce. We're well within that still. So a couple of days back, I started, I think, 6 of the cell trays of everything that vines, everything. My brother's kind of got like a secondary garden plot that we're just going to plug all that in. He's going to work on that when he gets back in town. And we've got a rabbit / groundhog fence that we're going to throw around an electrified fence to try to keep the damage to a minimum. And we're just going to plug all those plants in and just let stuff ramble and let it go. I like to plant a lot of big squash because the sheep really like it. And last year I was able to store like the big winter squashes, like your acorns and your butternut and spaghetti squash. stored a bunch of those just in the shop, just in some boxes, not even with any sawdust or anything. I just stored them in boxes. They have a really thick rind, so they store really well. And probably until I was giving them a couple of squash a day until almost January. So that was nice. It's the seeds in there have some anti-parasitical properties. It's kind of an extra treat for them. So it's actually one of those things. I won't eat a ton of it. I'll eat some here and there, but they love it. And around here, producing food for the sheep or any other animals is producing food for us and the dog. So it all finds its way back around one way or another. And then finally here, pardon me while I wet my whistle, I wanted to talk about catching back up with a consulting client who I first met a couple of years ago. So I met a gentleman at Self-Reliance Festival, and he invited me to come out to his property and hired me as kind of an educator and consultant and to assist with some design on his property. And he was preparing, like he knew he was going to be retiring in a couple of years. And this was the year he did it, actually just a couple of weeks ago. So when they got the property, he knew like that was his retirement plan. He wanted to retire and not travel anymore. And he wanted to be on the land full time and do all the cool stuff. And so I had not been back out, I think, in almost 2 years. I had conversed with him and we had, we kind of Q&A'd some stuff. But I hadn't been back out. And since that time, they've done and are doing meat birds. They're rotating sheep. They've got a rabbit hutch and they're looking for rabbits right now. They've got laying hens. They've had guineas. They've got turkeys. He is beginning to understand pasture improvement. They're working on identifying the stuff that's on their land. They've got a really good start on the food forest. They've got comfrey. They've got herbs. They've got raised beds. They've got a big main garden that they're still working on. It was impressive. And I was just so happy for them. So it's really rewarding to me to see that folks are able to take some of my guidance and encouragement and make it happen. It's not, they would have made this happen if they had never met me, without a doubt. Now, I would like to think that I've had a little bit of influence and maybe they avoided some errors, and that's good enough for me. But it's so nice to see people really pull the trigger, as it were, on executing those kind of, big, broad steps into taking care of the land, producing food, trying to, close up the loop. It was just really rewarding to go out there and see all that. And I've got to sit down at the desk for a little while before too long and kind of send him back some notes and some things regarding the pasture and how to keep working with that. But, they've only had those sheep for just a few months. So they will see the effect in about a year or less. They'll, just like we did, they will see just pooping and peeing and excreting extra mineral and excreting nutrient onto the ground happens when you keep animals moving across the land. Pip and Ives has dropped in. Hope you had a good dinner. Thank you for stopping by, my friend. And so their place just looks great. And it's just, I'm just so happy for people. I think I love to see people make it happen on whatever level they can make it happen. It's encouraging. And the more they do, the more they learn. They had their own little, had a hard time getting all the sheep to move at one point. They scattered and went everywhere, and they learned what it takes to get them all back up in a group again. And I've had the same thing happen, and I learned what it takes to get them all back in the group again. And that's mostly a bucket of sweet feed is how that usually works. If you don't have a dog working with you. So it's just wonderful to see that. Every now and again, I'll work with somebody and I'll send them a bunch of info, and then it's like I never hear a thing again. And I'll email and I'll follow up a few months later. And sometimes I get an answer like, well, we just haven't been able to get to it, or this happened, or, and guys, crap happens. It happens all the time. Things happen that slow me down. So it's certainly, not a value judgment, but I'm just happy for people who are able to do it. And they're learning and they're networking and they're making friends with their neighbors and the, kind of the adjacent communities and things. So uh, there is, there's a spot for everybody out there in that realm. So I think I'm going to take me just a little pause here. If you guys have any questions or anything you want to send through, uh, feel free to do it. I'm going to take just a quick second to look at my notes and make sure I have not overlooked something. And I have. Okay, I do have something else to talk about that is kind of important. That's right. Okay. But yeah, feel free to throw in questions if you got them. Speaking of people who are trying to make it happen, my good friends, Aaron and Stevie, who got married on May 1st, two of the most excellent humans that you were ever going to meet in your life. They were over towards the end of our gathering on Sunday. We always invite them to come later, and we have like dinner and campfire and everything. And that's kind of become our little tradition after our gatherings. They are ready to get out of a rental situation and look for land. They both work full time. They work their butts off. They have tremendous work ethic. And as you guys know, it is a tough climate to find property right now, and to save the money for property when you're, rent is what it is, and caring for vehicles and healthcare costs and all that kind of stuff. So they decided to launch a GoFundMe, which I don't see anything wrong with, and I have linked that up into the show notes. If you guys feel compelled to kick a few dollars in, I appreciate it. These people mean the world to me. I'm going to help them in every way I certainly can. I just wanted to give them a little bit more traction and put some eyeballs on that. If you see that GoFundMe, even if you just want to share it, that's one of those things you just never know who may pop along. And even if it's not about contributing money, but they've got property that maybe they want to transfer hands to, or maybe it's a case of, maybe somebody who is older who wants help caring for land, and they can work out like a for sale by owner type thing and kind of keep all the other entities out of the whole thing. I just want to give them a little bit more traction. Erin is a brilliant plant person. I go to her with plant questions all the time, and she just wants her gardens. She's got a patio garden right now that she has absolutely maximized. But she just wants to be in the soil and work on the land like I do. And she does a lot of natural art. She uses things from nature and does different kinds of jewelry and like shadow boxes and different little decorative pieces. And if you use Instagram, look up Fox Thistle Folk Art. It's the coolest stuff. So anytime I'm out and about in the woods, if I find like a really cool rock or some bones or something like that, I save them for her, and she'll use them in her art, which is kind of neat. Stevie is a metal worker. He's a metalsmith. Has a really good job working in that industry, but as an artist, as a metal artist, he wants to be able to do that for himself eventually. And frankly, he needs more workspace. This is not the kind of stuff that you can pull off in a little garage. So I'm going to do whatever I can to help them get traction on that, whether it's, looking for land or that sort of thing. So if you guys happen to see that and wish to share it or contribute, that's super kind, and we appreciate it. Mary James, good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. How are those plants doing? I sent Mary home with some plants on Sunday. A chestnut tree, that's right, and some elderberry, if I recall correctly. So I'm sure I've mentioned it before. I've discussed this kind of idea and dream of mine of having an education center here. Well, I keep expanding it, so it keeps becoming more and more of what I want my quote retirement to look like, which is pretty much what I do every day, but maybe just a little less physically taxing. But I would love to have a permaculture based nursery. I want to run a nursery based on permaculture principles. I want to come as close as I can to closing the loop altogether. So most nurseries, I'm sure you've noticed, have pretty big waste streams, especially in the plastics department. And that kind of drives me crazy. As somebody who winds up with a lot of plastic pots after doing installations, I reuse them until they come apart and then I recycle them. There's got to be a better way. So I'm in the very earliest stages of what that could look like. We do have good roadside frontage down here on a major road. We are in a good location. This will actually be a very good location for such a thing. But this is one of those things where I'm not involving the bank. So I may be running a GoFundMe of my own at some point in order to help get this portion of the business underway as I get a certain amount of, saved funds and we'll start seeing, we're going to, like I said, permaculture to the max. So it's going to be, patterns to details. We're going to identify the patterns, follow those patterns. We're going to, value the marginal, all that stuff. We're going to take those principles. We're going to apply it all to doing this. So we're not talking about loans. We're not talking about going in debt. None of that business. Mary says chestnut is doing fine. The elderberry is a little bit wilted. They'll do that, and you can cut off some of the foliage if you want, and that'll help it recover. And the hibiscus is doing fine. Yeah, hibiscus is they call them hardy hibiscus for a reason. They're sturdy little guys. So awesome. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna make this happen one way or another. I am calling it kind of a thing for my mid to late 40s, and I'm gonna be 41 in July. So I'm good to go. Can make this happen one step at a time. But I'm always happy to get input and thoughts on that kind of thing. If you guys ever happen to find a permaculture nursery, and I'm sure there's some, that are close. I'm sure what Matt Hunley is doing at Center Hill. I would imagine he's keeping it pretty tight over there as well. But at Center Hill Farm, if you're in Middle Tennessee, you should go buy some trees and whatnot from him. And One Step Closer says, investment strategy. I pay extra for swag to help fund your education center. Well, thank you so much. And that is something that I'm going to, I'm going to kind of scale up is start providing a few things. It could be, branded gear, tools, things that I absolutely do make use of. So, yeah, the idea list is coming along, and now it's just a matter of finding the balance in the day-to-day stuff that has to happen to kind of keep bills paid and a little bit of savings padded, and then the investment side of things. And on that front, and I thought I wrote it down, but apparently I forgot. Speaking of kind of long-term investment, I don't have a ton of details on this yet, but I can certainly say that it is taking shape and steps are in the right direction. Steps are happening to make this happen. But I am partnering with some folks, and I'll reveal this all as I know more and really have it tied down. But I'm partnering with some folks who have filming expertise and video editing expertise, which I do not, to put together a high-end foraging video course that's going to be, it's going to be relevant for the Southeast for now, but the Southeast is a pretty big area, and a whole lot of the Midwest and Northeast can follow along with this as well. And we're going to do a season-by-season foraging course with various kind of like add-on options and things of that nature. So I submitted the outline to him yesterday. We had a discussion about it over the phone. He is, we kind of clarified some things, started putting together what I needed to know so that he can create a shot list. Because there's just this whole side that I am almost completely ignorant about how filming works how editing works. So I'm learning from him. And this is something that we have put together as it's kind of a, we are trading skill sets and knowledge bases with one another. So I am helping them design their land and consulting with them on that and answering their questions and supporting them. And they are helping to film stuff for me and get this course put together. And this will be one, we're going to keep it entirely on my website. So it's not, I'm not going to do one of these, there's these teachables and things like that. It's all going to go on my website. And they will have affiliate links and things, and it, we'll make sure everybody gets, appropriate commissions and all that will kind of be hashed out. But it's coming together, guys, and I'm so excited about it. It's a little bit overwhelming. I didn't really see this coming. I really want to get this right, but I'm very excited about it. So you guys will be some of the first to know when that is underway. We are hoping to have something released before the end of summer, even if it's just the introduction portion and maybe a few examples to kind of get people interested in the course. And the beautiful thing about it is we can keep building on it. So as I study more and I spend more time in the field and I'm at more locations of different types, because obviously what I find here is different than the plateau. It is different than even if I go down to the bottom of this property where there are creeks, it's different. So if anybody is kind of between Knoxville and Middle Tennessee, I would accept an invite onto your land to film, to look for stuff. Mary, I'm not going to demand to come out there, but you guys have some cool stuff in those woods behind your home. And I know we can film in such a way that privacy can be protected. Like, we're not going to reveal anybody's house or street number or anything like that. We'll be general with location. But and I mean, personally, the way I see it is if anybody allows me, if they host me on the land where we're just walking and taking video for a day or two, you're going to get that course for free. Boom. That's just how I'm going to do it. So if that's something that you guys who are here with me live, if somebody watches this after the fact and would be interested in that, I am going to need a few different sites. So I'm going to be pretty good on, hilltop, hilltop in the Tennessee Valley. Somewhat higher elevations would be good. Wetland locations will be good. Urban would be good, or even semi-urban, although there's a number of public places that can help me cover that. And maybe even a place that is like early in succession, from like having been cover cropped to gone fallow, something like that. All these sites will offer us different things. So not only can I talk about foraging, but I can talk about what succession looks like, how whatever is growing there, what it's telling us about the environment and the soil and the history. So we're going to make this super valuable to people. It could kind of be sort of my, I don't want to say manifesto. That's not the word I'm looking for. What do you guys call it when you have your great work? I want it to be, at least a large portion of my great work. I want all of that documented in one place for anybody to access who would like to access it. So yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on that. Gosh, I think I actually did get through my list and I didn't forget anything terribly important. So I need to go hang out with the sheep yes, magnum opus. Thank you so much. Yes. I'm gonna go hang out with the sheep for a little bit, make sure everybody's looking good over there. So you guys have an excellent weekend. Thank you so much for hanging out. And if y'all need to get a hold of me, strongrootsresources@gmail.com. The Telegram group link is in the description. Strong Roots Resources is the website. And yeah, y'all have a wonderful weekend, and we will talk to you next time.